Hey guys, AJ here, back with another one. So I just want to say, first of all, happy Veterans Day to all you veterans out there. Thanks to all of the service people who are out there, with the balls enough to go out and fight to defend our freedoms and our liberty. Anyone who has the balls to put on a uniform and do what they do, what you guys do, I respect. My dad, he was in the Army. My mom was also. My sister, she was in the Air Force. My cousin was in the Air Force. I have a lot of friends who also served. I didn't personally, but I have a healthy respect for anyone who does. And if I ever see anyone disparaging the military in my comments, you will be blocked instantly. So, getting that out of the way, we're going to get into this question. This has been a topic that's been going on for about, I would say, the last 10, 15 years about putting women in combat and having mixed units. And I personally don't believe in having mixed infantry. I just don't. Because a lot of the times they've talked about lowering the physical tests. And I know that for a lot of the police forces and firefighters, women have lower tests. And to me, that's not good. So you need to have the best and effective people, especially in combat. You need the most effective fighting forces possible. And having women, it just doesn't work out the way that people think that it will. So first, we have an interview where this captain in the Marines, she does an interview, and she actually goes in and says that she doesn't think that the women should be in combat. So let's get into this first. And thanks for Greg Hengler for posting this video.
Recently, Congress has mandated that all branches of the military review policies that restrict female members' service. The Marine Corps, that means integrating women into the infantry. This summer, several volunteers are the first women to train for the infantry and will join their brothers in arms this fall. But not everybody believes this latest step towards equal rights is a good idea, including a female Marine officer who has been on the front lines. Joining me now is Captain Katie Petronio.
Now let's stop. She's a captain in the Marines, and she's been in combat, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get back into it.
Good morning to you, Captain.
Good morning.
So before we talk about what may happen in the future, help me understand what women are allowed to do right now.
There's numerous support roles that women have right now. There are certain restrictions also, and that's what Congress is kind of mandating that we look into. Fields like infantry or artillery or tanks are areas that females have not been allowed to participate in.
So there was this push in the last couple of years to let women do more, to technically be on the so-called front lines. Do you agree with it?
Well, there's really no front line anymore.
And that is facts. There really isn't any front lines anymore. So people have this old notion of, World War One, like no man's land, and then we have, ditches, or the Civil War where this army lines up and then we line up and we shoot at each other, or there is the Germans over here and the English and the Allies over here. That's not how it works anymore. A lot of wars like Vietnam and the Gulf War and stuff were mobile wars where there was conflicts that were raging in different areas, and troops had to move real fast to different types of engagement. So let's get back into it.
In conventional enemy, females have definitely played a strong role in combat operations in a supporting capacity. My specific concern is opening up infantry for females.
Why?
It's definitely not a cost. The cost definitely outweighs the benefits. It's not going to help the individual, and it's not going to help the institution. We're a warfighting institution, and combat readiness needs to be at the front and foremost when we make decisions like this. And I don't think that this change is going to benefit anybody.
But why not?
Nice question there, reporter lady. But why not?
Why not? There's an understanding or a misconception outside of the Marine Corps that preventing women from taking on these roles possibly restricts our opportunities for promotion. In the Marine Corps, men and women are promoted at the same rate. Mm-hmm. So the other question then I present is longevity. We're talking about opening up opportunities for females, but my concern that I point out in the article is that there's these gender-specific medical concerns that are going to come with opening these fields that I'm not so sure we've really thought about.
Absolute facts. And I want to go back to a point that she made. People go, oh, men get promoted faster because they're in combat. And she just dispelled that myth and said, look, a woman that's in support role, if she does her job good enough, can make rank just like a guy who's in the field shooting. So it's not like women are not being promoted. A nurse or a woman who's a doctor, a woman who might drive a truck has the same opportunity to advance as a guy who's shooting artillery. So, and also she's talking about medical issues that a lot of women might have. Let's get back into it here.
And on the backside of that, there's going to be a cost associated with these medical conditions. And are we ready to pay the price for that?
I guess that was my question about why you think that it's a bad idea, because you yourself, I mean, by all regards, you're a very high-achieving woman, not only in life, but in the military. And what you point out in this article is that you went through some of the rigorous training that the men did, and what happened to you?
I've faced a lot of weight loss, muscle atrophy. I also developed polycystic ovarian syndrome, which for me resulted in infertility.
Yikes. So she was out there running and jumping and doing obstacle courses and carrying her pack and doing everything that the men did, and her body shut down, and now she's sterile. Can you believe that? She'll never have children because she was trying to keep up with the men that were physically superior to her. Man.
It's a type of combat environment these days that's very strenuous, and I was only doing a portion of what our infantry brothers do.
A portion of what the men do made her sterile. Man.
I'm physically fit, definitely one of the top in the females for physical fitness. However, I degraded. And of course, I understand that every female is going to break down at a different rate, but our male counterparts are breaking down also, and I just think it's an unnecessary risk that we could be taking on.
So let me understand this. If, in fact, women are going to be on these so-called front lines, I know you say they don't really exist anymore, but just for terminology, on the front lines, will it be their own personal choice to be allowed to try it out, or will they just be commanded to do that even if they don't want to?
And this is the question that I couldn't believe she asked. She's saying, if we do let women on the front lines or in infantry, will they have a choice to go? You bonehead. If men are in infantry, they don't have a choice to go. So what made you think to ask if women, if treated equally, would have a choice to go? If you're in infantry, you're in infantry. And I'm not even in the military, and I know this. And I want to take this back to a different issue. So for those who don't know, when the suffragettes wanted the right to vote, right, a lot of women didn't want the right to vote because it meant that they would have to be drafted. So most women at that time did not want to vote. It was the suffragettes that were causing all these problems. And finally, they bitched and whined and moaned and got special privilege for women in that they can vote, but they don't have to register for the draft. So they get special treatment. And what this woman is asking is, will women, if put in infantry, be treated like men, or will they get special privileges and be able to choose to go or not, much like women can vote without having to be drafted? Let's get back into it.
This will be a blanket assignment. So any female who joins the Marine Corps, private as an enlisted side or as a second lieutenant as an officer, can be told to serve as an infantryman, and she will have to serve in that capacity.
All right, Captain Katie Petronio, a U.S. Marine Corps member of the U.S. Marine Corps, who has written an article, and I imagine you've taken some heat for it, for standing up for what you believe in, but we appreciate you being a guest today.
Well, props to Captain Katie Petronio. I mean, she's telling the truth. She's dropping truth bombs, and yeah, so let's move on to this next one. And this is a video about they ran a test that the Marine Corps did a while ago with mixed units versus all male units, and basically, spoiler alert, the all male units did better in every single way, and to kind of piggyback off the point that the previous captain made, the women were more prone to injury. Now, this brings up a point of, even if the women can pass the test, they break down faster. So you think about this. You have the women who are trying to do the task and they're in the field, and it's an asset that's not performing. Imagine you have two race cars. You have one that's in an endurance race. I mean, you have two that are in a race, and one of them keeps breaking down. Is one the good investment to put in the race? No. So let's get into this here.
One-of-a-kind Marine Corps experiment that will help determine the future of women in combat. The study compared men and women fighting side by side. The final report released yesterday says men performed significantly better and got hurt less often.
And it's funny how people act surprised when they hear this. Really?
Jan Crawford is in Washington with the story. Jan, good morning.
Well, good morning. You know, we spent several days in the California desert back in March watching this experiment, talking to the men and women who volunteered, and now the results are in. And for those arguing that women should be able to perform all the same combat jobs as the men, the news is discouraging.
And it's funny that those who are arguing this are not even people who are in the military. This is the same people that want to let biological males into female sports. But most of those people that say that never played sports in their life. So how do you have people that haven't been in the military telling the military that they need to let women into combat when they've never been there? It's just ridiculous. Let's get back into it.
It was as close to war as you could get.
Fire in the hole!
An unprecedented scientific study. Men and women enlisted Marines side by side for months of simulated battle.
6.
And throughout, researchers watched and recorded their performance to help determine what impact women would have on combat. Even then, the women realized they were at a disadvantage.
It's not that we can't carry the weight. We can carry the weight, but it's the pace, especially when we're matched up with the males. You're looking at our size, and we have males that are almost 6 foot with longer strides, and it's hard to catch up with them and keep up with them.
And think about this. If we had an all-female unit, and they're all 5, the average woman's what, 5'6" in the United States, 5'5". So, and then you, an all-female battalion is against the average man in the United States, 5'10", and they're in some type of close quarter combat. It wouldn't even be a contest.
That is what the results show. In almost every area, the all-male units performed significantly better than those with both men and women Marines. The men were faster in each tactical movement, had better accuracy, and were quicker. They registered more hits on target and had a noticeable difference in their performance of overcoming obstacles and evacuating casualties.
So they're faster, deadlier because they hit more targets, they evacuated their casualties more. It's just ridiculous. And to those of us who have some damn sense, this is obvious. Let's get back into it.
The Marines commissioned the study after then Defense Secretary Leon Panetta in 2013 ordered the military to open all combat jobs to women.
We must open up service opportunities for women as fully as possible.
Here, so why don't you send your daughters or your nieces out there? How about that? Oh, wait, I bet he won't.
Most branches are ready to comply. And just last month, 2 women passed the Army's toughest test to become Army Rangers.
We can handle things physically and mentally on the same level as men, and that we can deal with the same stresses and training that the men can.
Until you get older and you're complaining about how your ovaries don't work like the woman in the previous one, in the previous video.
The women.
Oh, a nice haircut, G.I. Jane.
Women Rangers said the standards should not be lowered. Women Marines we talked to agreed. They told us few would want these jobs, but if there is just one who can do it, she should get the chance.
It takes a special person, a special drive, a special mindset, a special heart to do this. There's not many of us. And it goes the same way for the men.
Now, the Marines will make a decision sometime this fall on whether they will seek an
So we can end it here, but the funny thing is that the Young Turks were talking about this, and they're all a bunch of idiots anyways. And they were like, well, maybe this test was skewed. No, if you watch the full clip, there's this is part of the report, but there's a full clip. It's about 7 minutes long. Google it. And all the men were like, yeah, we don't care who's beside us as long as they can do the job. Because the Young Turks are like, well, maybe the men were keeping them from. No. In the Marines and most military forces, they don't make those types of, discriminatory, outlook, So, also, too, this whole concept is by people who want equal outcome and not equal opportunity. And then one more thing that the Young Turk said is, what kind of study? In the longer version, they actually say that there were scientists that were a third party that were not part of the Marines that were doing the scientific research. So there is no plot by the Marines against women. So, and this last one, we're going to go to. This is where they're talking about the standards for the Marines, because women, I guess the Marines, they're supposed to do X amount of number of pull-ups. The women are supposed to do 3. They can't do it, so they're discussing if they should lower the standards. And you saw how the previous woman in the first video said, I don't believe in lowering the standard. And this discussion is what she was talking about. Let's jump right into it.
Military training can be excruciating.
Fair use, by the way, fair use.
At its highest levels. But at the bare minimum, a Marine's got to be able to do 3 pull-ups.
3 pull-ups. I could do 3 pull-ups in middle school.
To ensure that every Marine is successful at maxing out their pull-ups on their PFDs.
But more than half the female recruits couldn't do it. So the Marines are pushing back the day when it becomes mandatory.
If you have a failure rate of 55% and 99% of the men are succeeding, obviously this is not going to work.
So if the women aren't succeeding, so let's just get rid of the test. Think about that logic. If you have a test that men are passing and women are failing, it's the test's fault. Instead of actually going to find women that could pass the test, or making women get stronger, or having them do something, I don't know, doing something. It's the test's fault? Get the fuck out of here, man.
Men have to do 3 pull-ups minimum to pass the Marines fitness test. It takes 20 to earn a perfect score. Women had to meet the same minimum, but only need 8 pull-ups to score perfect. Because so few passed, the Marines will let them choose to hang on the bar for 15 seconds and pass without doing any pull-ups.
So now they don't have to do any pull-ups at all, but the men do. That's ridiculous.
Wide grip stance that works best for you.
Marine Corps officials admit pull-ups are better, and the flexed arm hang elicits little muscular strength adaptations necessary for common military tasks, such as pulling oneself over obstacles or carrying equipment.
Generally, I'm not in favor of lowering any standards.
Zoe Bedell is a former Marine Corps officer who commanded troops in Afghanistan. Could you do 3 pull-ups?
I was at one point able to do 5 pull-ups, but it was that first one that probably took me the longest to get to.
Bedell says women have to learn how to do pull-ups, something many have never done.
Yeah, gee, here's a concept. Get stronger.
Sort of experiment with different techniques, figure out what other exercises to do.
Critics say the big push over pull-ups is part of a bigger problem. Pressure from the White House to make the military gender neutral.
Something is wrong here, and it's not the women's faults.
Oh, please. Okay, so here, you do pull-ups, you old bag. That's just the thing. Think of this. If the women aren't passing the test, and the men are, and there's some women who are, you're just going to blame... Guys, it's rare for me to be speechless. I'm fucking speechless. I have no words.
It's the policy that the Marines are pursuing.
Obviously, this is a big deal. Chris Lawrence, what do the Marines...
And I really don't want to hear from Don Lemon or whoever. So, we can end this here, but guys, This same reasoning is the same thing where there's a professor that's saying that, oh, since blacks and Hispanics can't do well on math tests, that math is racist, and oh, because I don't know, this the same woke crap. No, you can't. It's not the test's fault. Women just need to get stronger. We need to have as effective as a military as possible. It's a fighting force. That's simply it. And we shouldn't endanger lives by trying to fit some agenda. I guarantee China, Russia, and North Korea aren't using mixed units. And here we are trying to integrate ours and have a gender-neutral military. Guys, let me know what you think. If you have served and you have a comment, drop one below. And thanks for your service. Like, subscribe. I appreciate everybody who watches. You guys are the best. Stay safe, and I am out of here.